Well, today is July 30th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be a busy, crazy weekend, as you know. Not because I cut my hair, shaved my beard. Well, it's because, as you know, the five-star Grand Prix already started, but however, I did not see the whole thing, so you will only get a taste of what matches they throw in. So I will be reviewing them and what significance means are these matches for. This is from day one. We are, of course, continuing with day 8 of the G1 Climax. We'll see what really good matches took place. Not to mention, we got NWA USA, and now we also got the New Japan show here in the States, Music City Hall, where we are going to see some fantastic matches that I believe is going to be killer. And also a couple of news updates to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with Stardom with the 5-star Grand Prix on the 30th. This is day 1. This is only the pre-show you can see on YouTube. Now, normally they just throw in these, but they gave an added bonus, 2 matches involving in the 5-star Grand Prix, 1 blue, 1 red. But let's start with the gauntlet match. We have about maybe 6 teams involved. Opening match, we have Oda Tai, consistent of Rina and Ruka, taking on Queen's Quest, Miyu Amasaki and Hina. Now keep in mind we have both twin sisters Rina and Hina facing off each other, and it always ends up who is the better and strongest whatever kind of scenario. But in this case, Rina was the one who outsmarted Hina, pinned her 1, 2, 3. It's over with the jackknife. Now our next match, we have of course, since Oda Tai won, we have stars with Hanan and Koguma. So that means Rina's big sister is coming in. Now you know there's a bit of a rivalry. These two girls have always had the same similar background, but however, Hana is the current future champion, and you know how that is, a bit of jealousy. But in this case, it was Koguma who pinned Rina with her infamous pin that she always does, 1, 2, 3. Adios, Oda Tai. Now, as for Star's upcoming opponents, this one I was happy to see. It's of course we have the Cosmic Angels, or as we call them, Tampoi, Natsupoi, and Tam Nagano teaming up once again. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about will they be challenging for the goddesses, but I'll explain that in a little bit. They take on Koguma, and this one, Koguma and Hanan. I was very impressed how this cohesiveness between Boy and Tam has developed, but it was Tam who picked up the victory with the German suplex onto Hanan to win the match. But their next opponents is the other members of Oda Tai. We have of course Saki Kashima and Momo Watanabe taking them on, and they attacked them right away. However, there was a perfect misfire by Momo when she whacked in the head with the roundhouse kick to Kashima by accident, but it did give, of course, a Boy a chance to pin her. 1, 2, 3. It was over. They just went 2 teams already. However, their next opponents is the other members of Oda Tai, Team 3, Fukigen Dev and Starlight King. Now, keep in mind, both Natsupoi and Tam does have a bit of history with Kid, but however, Kid only is obsessed with Natsupoi, always been on her shadow for who knows how long, and I think that tells us the whole story about them. But in this case, it was of course the Natsupoi who picked up the victory when she took out Fukina to pick up a good win. So they won 3 straight matches. I was impressed by the whole thing. But the obvious question does remain: will we see Natsupoi and Tam challenge for the Goddesses Tag Belt? Well, that is something we could expect because, as you know, FWC, consistent of Azuki and Koguma, they called them out as their next challengers, regarding that they did not challenge. The reason they challenged them is because of the so-called revolution. Basically, they think it's a load of nonsense, but we will see what happens. I mean, I would love to see Tam and Poi finally become tag champions because here's the thing. Tam has won Tag League but never won the tag titles. This would be a good thing for her. Now, as you know, the ceremony with the 5-star Grand Prix was amazing. I like how they were dressed up in traditional Japanese clothing. Like, they introduced each unit differently. They dressed a lot more different from the previous. They called out Cosmic Angels, including Saki, who was in part of the Allied Force. I thought they were great. I like the outfits they were, but I seen the outfits they were. I see them in the documentary, and then here comes, of course, Risa Sarah, who was the only one representing prominence since we were supposed to expect Suzuki, but as you know, Suzuki was not there due to poor health condition. Then we see Queen's Quest, Tommy, Azumi, and Kamitani in this one. Then they called out, of course, Oda Tai, Kashima, Kid, Momo Watanabe. Then Donna Demondo, DDM. We have Himeka, Maika, Julia, and Mai Sakurai. And of course, for the record, Mai Sakurai, this is her first time being in the 5-star Grand Prix. Then we have stars, all 6 members involved, and then finally all 3 members of God's Eye. I thought it was a great ceremony. Now our first match of the 5-star Grand Prix is the Red Star block. We have Mai Sakurai and Momo Kogo. Now, these two ladies are familiarized with each other. Now, Mai Sakurai has been proven time and time again that she is strong, that she's willing to determine to do her best. However, this time she has to face someone from her past, which is Momo Kogo. Momo Kogo has a lot of fire in her. I can sense that in her. But however, it didn't do any well for her because Mai Sakurai walked away with the win. But Momo Kogo could not let that go. Basically, she felt that she worked real hard to get there. And I understand when you're facing someone, it's very difficult. Because, Momo Kogo only entered because Tekla was automatically had to withdraw due to the injury she obtained. But we'll see what other matches will take place. Now, for our final match for the pre-show is the Blue Star block for the 5-star Grand Prix. We have the 2 powerful women, Ami Sourei and Saya Ida. Now, this match is powerhouse time. But the real question, how would this end? I was like a bit biased because they're 2 of the strongest powerhouses I've seen in Stardom. But it was Ami Sourei who walked out as a victory. I was impressed by that. And I have to say, we see how Ami Sourei is that a powerhouse, but we'll see how she'll do in the entire 5-star Grand Prix tournament. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with Stardom. With this pre-show, I believe it's time to move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling's G1 Climax 32 with Day 8. Okay, Day 8 of the G1 Climax 32 with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, I've been covering only the 4 matches involving the G1. So let's start with the first one we have for the D block, Shingo Takagi versus David Finlay. Now, this one we could all agree Shingo probably would win it. But however, this new push, I believe, that's coming from Finlay is totally amazing. It shows how he is determined. Now, As you know, he was a tag team specialist with Juice Robinson. Now he's breaking away and coming on his own as a singles competitor. And I thought it was pretty good. However, he pulled up the most biggest upset of them all, beating Shingo with 1, 2, 3. It was over when he rolled him up. I did not anticipate that. I'm sure none of you anticipate that, but it was amazing. But however, his key interest is a shot of the IWGP United States Champion that belongs to Will Ospreay. However, Finlay has the belt that how do I say that Juice Robinson said that he is the champion. But right now, Finlay recognizes that only Will Ospreay is the champion, but he hasn't responded yet. Now our next match is A block action. We got Tom Lawler taking on Jonah. Now, you can say Jonah would win this one easily. Now, I know for a fact Lawler can try to be smart as possible to take out Jonah. That is a statement of truth and fact. But the obvious question, could he do it? Well, I mean, the thing is this. Filthy, he thinks he is there for the fun and games, but when it comes to Jonah, you know he's not playing around. He's not there to play games, but he did shut him up when he applied the torpedo. Not to mention, it was so funny the way El Phantasmo was on commentary saying, I've seen never seen a sore peg fly, but I just saw a blue whale." I thought that was the most hilarious thing I've ever heard coming from El Phantasmo. I mean, he should be doing comedy in commentary. I thought it was so funny. But yeah, so that means Jonah, on the other hand, gets 2 points. In the next match for the B block, we have the Great Okan versus Sonata. Now, I have to say, this is one of the best matches I've seen with Sonata. The reason is this: Sonata is one of my favorites to watch as a singles competitor, but when it comes to Great Okan, he stood toe to toe with this Mongolian gorilla out of nowhere. But he even took the Mongolian chops like a man, no matter how hard, how devastating Khan can do. But it did not do any well for him until he finally pinned him. I was impressed. Great Okan possibly is not gonna take this kindly, but it was amazing. I loved it. Now our main event is the C block with Zack Sabre Jr. versus the Ace Hiroshi Tanahashi. I thought also another classic match. Now I know those two have come across each other in the past, but I have to say I would not anticipate a whole lot. Now you can say that with Zack Sabre Jr. being the best technical wrestler in the world, taking on a guy who's been at the top of his game, I was impressed. It was, of course, Tanahashi that picked up a good win, and I think it showed us he's not messing around either. But a huge disappointing loss for Zack Sabre Jr., but he'll bounce back sooner or later. So I think it was pretty good, so I can't wait. To be honest with you, I did not count the points on this one. I got a little occupied, but I think Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi has, of course, with two wins and one loss. Same thing with Tanahashi. I'm not sure about the others, but I'll do that on the next time. But yeah, so right now let's just move on to our next review, and I believe it's going to be NWA USA. NWA USA. It started out a bit wacky with our host, Wrecking Ball and Mercurio from The Fixers, and he has a somewhat of a co-host, and that is, of course, the Italian stud himself, Mercurio. Hopefully I can pronounce it right. He thinks of him, he's an Aussie. I thought it was just too funny, but we'll see about that. Now, our opening match, we have the Now, a tag team I never heard of, but Velvet Sky has. They take on members of the Idolmania Sports Management, Jordan Oliver and Zion. I have to say that this cohesive between Clearwater and Zion has grown a lot more than you anticipate because, as you know, Idol Sportsmania Management are determined to run the entire NWA division regardless. But it was, of course, the um Matthias touch by Clearwater that picked up the victory, giving Idol Sports Management the edge. Now, once again, we see Legursky and Mercurio. This time they interview the beautiful people. You remember them. Of course, Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. And once again, the whole thing between them becomes a little awkward. And that sort of thing kind of goes in. And of course, you want to say, "What the F, Mercurio? What are you doing?" So basically, they're kind of like ignoring the Italian dude. I thought it was funny too. Now, our next match, we have Brady Pierce versus Brett Buffet. I wasn't too much with this, but I can tell you this: Brady Pierce was the one who walked out as a victory because I don't know, I got a little not excited for this. Now, once again, we get an interview with. Now we get another interview again with, of course, Legursky and Mercurio, and then we have, of course, the Feeman brothers, and you know you want to laugh at the short little big brother, which is too funny, and they're calling out Murdoch, so I thought it was really interesting. Next match we have is, of course, a four-way women's champion match. We have Paula Blaze versus Misa Kate versus Rayleigh versus Marty Bell. I thought this match was good because it showed a little bit more of the women's division we were expecting, but it was Marty Bell who walked out as the victor. It was pretty good. Now, once again, we have the interview with Legursky and Mercurio. They interview Taryn Terrell and Markova. Now, if you guys know this or not, behind and outside the ring, Markova and Mercurio are dating, and they try to act like, Mercurio's like kind of being turned on by Markova. I don't know why. I think they're trying to step up a little bit of the story wise. Oh, that he has a thing for her, but we don't know exactly if that's the case they're planning on. But we will see in the future for that. Now, our next match, we have members of the Miserable Faithful, Sal the Pal and Gags the Gimps taking on the Obi Gun, Alex Taylor and Jeremy Plunkett. I have to say, Sal the Pal and Gags the Gimp have been very impressive so far as a tag team. Not to mention not pissing off Father, because that's always been his case. They don't want to piss him off, but I have to say it was Gags the Gimp picked up a huge victory for their team. So I thought it was a really interesting event, but we'll see what happens next week and, of course, the upcoming NWA Power. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with our last review with New Japan Pro Wrestling Music City Hall. Our last review, New Japan Pro Wrestling Music City Mayhem. Of course, this took place in Nashville, which is the same day of Ric Flair's last match on the 30th. Opened up with a series of people from the LA Dojo. We have the DKC, Kevin Knight, and Ren Narita to take on Yuya Uemura, Fred Yeehai, and of course, Shota Umino. Now, this particular match was interesting because, as you may or may not have been aware, there seems like there's been tempers of flare between Umino and Ren Narita. Now, keep in mind, these two guys trained in the same New Japan dojo in Tokyo. But, however, these two guys took two different paths. Ren Narita came to the U.S. with the request he requested Shibata to come here to train, and as for Shota Umino, he has been thriving a lot in Rev Pro, making a big name for himself. I thought the match itself was great, but it was, of course, Shota Umino who walked out as the victor when he applied the Death Rider onto DKC. But however, the tensions between Narita and Umino is far from over. I wouldn't be surprised if they come across each other again, but that's going to take some time. Now, next match, I was not aware of this, but I was happy. We had the MLW National Openweight Championship on the line with Rocky Romero as the challenger to take on the champion, the American Wolf, Davey Richards. Now, I know he preceded this belt before. MLW hasn't been broadcasting any new shows for the last 2 weeks, but we'll see what happens then. But the match was great. But however, it was Davey Richards who walked out as the winner to retain the title. I thought it was great. And wow, I loved it. Our next match is the Strong Openweight Championship. As you know, new champion Fred Rosser decided to take a different route. Now keep in mind, when Tom Lawler was the champion, he wouldn't give wrestlers an opportunity because he believes that they're not in his level. However, Rosser's like saying, I'm going to give others opportunity so I can show I am a fighting champion. And there's nothing wrong. But his opponent that he has to face is none other than the Beast from Belfast, Big Damo. I thought it was insane. But he pulled through when he walked out as the victor. I was like impressed. When he pinned him, 1, 2, 3, it was over, baby. Just like that. Now our next match, we have Blake Christian taking on the Time Bomb, Hiromu Takahashi, and he wasn't alone. He even brought Daryl with him. I'm like, wow. He even left Daryl in the commentary section. I'm like so happy that Daryl is back. We haven't seen that guy, seen that cat in almost a year or two, or 2 years. I'm not sure, but it was great. But I have to say, it was great. What a match between Christian and Hiromu. I loved it. It showed that Blake Christian, I hope maybe next year he can join the Best of the Super Juniors, because he is a phenomenal wrestler. But it was Hiromu who walked out as the victor when he applied his finisher. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now our next match, we have the United Empire, TJP, Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis to take on Alex Zane and FTR. Now keep in mind, Aussie Open and FTR, this is a matter of egos. Basically proving who is the strongest and the better tag team. As you know, FTR has 3 titles in their possession. And I thought the match was unbelievably good. I like how Zayn is the oddball of the team because he's a high flyer. That's the thing. And it was okay. But however, it was in fact Alex Zane who suffered the pinfall that allowed for Aussie Open to win. However, Aussie Open has decided to challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles, believing that those titles belong to the Empire once and for all. But we know FTR will not back down from anybody. That's who they really are. Now our next match, this is the matter of mentor versus student, tag team members of the Time Splinter. I thought this match was unbelievably good. As you can see, this one was one of those matches you know it's gonna be one hell of a counter moves between the two of the best junior heavyweight competitors we've ever watched. But I was impressed with the last 30 seconds when they were trying to pull the infamous what they call it, the Motor City Crusher, or I don't know what they called it, but it was insane. But the match ended in a time limit draw. But it was unbelievable. I'm like happy, but hopefully one day we can see the Time Splitters team up once again. I would love to see that. I'm sure all of you do. Now our main event is a no disqualification match. We have the Del Desperado taking on Jon Moxley. Now, you can say Desperado, he's screwed, but he withstand everything. He got whacked by a guitar, by Moxley. He's been through everything. But no matter how hard Moxley put him through, he kicks out. But unfortunately, it did not end there until he ended up in the Bulldog choke, and he passed out completely, knowing that he could not tap out. So he wasn't gonna give up, but referee called it. It was over. I thought it was a pretty good event. So hope everybody enjoys that one. I can't wait to see more with New Japan. But right now, we're going to end it with some news updates. Well, right now let's talk about our latest updates. We only have two for now because I'm going to keep this short and sweet. The first one is from Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling. It was announced on August 13th in Korakuen Hall. Risu Endo will have a special match against someone who had made headways in Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling on certain occasions. We're talking about the Big Apple herself, Mei Suruga, and this is the first time they ever face off to get against each other. As you know, Arisu Endo did teamed up with Riho to take on Suzumi and Mei Suruga, but I don't think they ever faced off as a singles competitor. And I think it's going to be a good match to watch. Now, for our last update, I want to put this on record. I did not see this. I did not see WWE SummerSlam, but seeing what I heard, what took place, oh my effing god. Bayley's back and she's not alone. We just saw Io Shirai and Dakota Kai make their way. Now, this is something we talked about before. This is something we have been expecting. There are certain wrestlers who are loyal to Triple H. I mentioned that many times over. And now Triple H has done something. My brother has spoken to I about this already. We believe that maybe Triple H can save the women's division because it was a terrible mess under Vince's leadership, and I think it could happen. But but some of you may ask, will we ever see Sasha Banks or I know that they're working a way to reconcile with them because I know the last time they were not happy with decisions that were being made by Vince. So we'll see what happens then. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody else too. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So I think it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Now, as I said before, I only covered the pre-show, but hopefully, as you know, I don't have Stardom World. Uh, the thing is, my job is a little different than I normally do. I may not get the hours I want, but luckily I watch all the Stardom shows with watchprowrestling.org. I've been watching all of that right there. Hopefully I'll see the whole thing soon and hopefully catch up with what's been going on because I know they're going to cover the day 2 for a pre-show. I probably will cover that too. Don't know about New Japan Pro Wrestling if they're going to continue with day 9. If they are, I will cover that. But until then, I'll just wing it for the following episode, see what's going to happen. So I'm not going to say which I'm going to do. There's still some I haven't watched, but we'll see from there. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.